Hello, Dave.
Ian, how's it going?
It's going great, and we have a guest. We've tricked yet another person into coming on. Zack Klapman of Smoking Tire fame and from Drive on NBCSN is here with us. How's it going, Zack?
How you doing? This is the sound of my voice.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And if someone's watching on YouTube, that's this look of your face.
This is my grainy face. Relatively new MacBook Pro, and yet 720p webcam.
Tim Apple making weird choices. Kill the floppy drive early, keeping 720p alive as long as he wants.
Very good point. Yeah, the hard buttons at the top are gone, but what we're going to do is going to keep the camera from the 1940s.
Yeah,
Yes.
they had to pour all their money into switching everything over to USB-C, and so they got no money for cameras left.
That's right.
Yeah.
I hope that's correct.
And here we are clutching to FireWire cables. Like, what the hell?
Right? Yeah, the audio interface came with FireWire. Like, what is this for a printer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so like I said, you're everyone knows you mostly, I think, from Smoking Tire, but you're also a producer on Drive on NBCSN and also a host on there. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about right away is you have a big presence on Instagram as well, and you're on Twitter a lot. Is the YouTuber face thing,
Yeah.
which is like sort of a fun inside joke between you and Matt, I think, but like it also gets to some other fun stuff that I want to talk about. But
Sure.
just could you explain to people the YouTuber face and like why and what that's all about?
Well, so we started making the Smoking Tire videos, doing car reviews in 2009, and we were early to it, and I think that helped some of our success. There wasn't many channels out there. Digital cameras were like really young. We shot things on, Canon DSLRs that weren't dedicated video cameras. GoPro was super new. So back then, if you made a good video, the center card was a little bit less important because there weren't as many players in the game. And that was pretty true for 6 years for us. Like through Matt, Matt did the one takes, which were fan cars. And it was like, the title was like, here's the car I drove, 800 horsepower Audi A4. Photo was a photo, like really simple. A lot of times it was just taken as a screen grab, but the views were huge because everyone's like, I want to see someone drive this crazy car. And then, more and more people started doing car content. And I think at the same time, more and more people in general started doing YouTube content. So we think that the car YouTube world is big, but it's tiny and adorable compared to, let's call it mainstream YouTube success. There's like Mr. Beast or, Dude Perfect, like these channels that have more mass appeal and get tens of millions of views per video for years and years. And they just had people or faces in their thumbnails.
Mhm.
And everyone noticed this huge jump in traffic. And I think at a psychological level, it's like humans like seeing other humans. We connect with human beings. And we're drawn to eyes. Like if you're in a crowd and someone looks at you, somehow even peripheral vision, you will see the eyes looking at you. It's probably like a defense thing. So if you have a center card, if you have 10 center cards and 9 of them have just cars and 1 of them has a face, you are going to look at the center card that has a face. And for a long time, Matt and I hated it because we didn't like the gamification of content. We didn't like this thing of like, for us, it was just about, we wanted to make the content we made and be proud of the content we make, and it will get watched by the people who appreciate it. And so for a while, we were just really resistant to like the tide, changing of the tides. We were old men in that way. And then at a certain point, when we hired an analytic consultant because our views just kept going down, and they were like, look, these are some really important methods, let's say, that everyone's doing except you. Everyone's shooting the picture in color except you guys. Like that's how it felt. So we were like, all right, so we have to start doing this. And so there's a part of us, we're making fun of this fishing lure that we have finally agreed to use, even while it is more effective. And like on Instagram, you can do it with your own Instagram out there. A post with you and a picture and like something happening will probably get a lot more attention than just a car or a landscape or something. Obviously there's exceptions. If you are a landscape photographer, that will probably get a bigger response. But like one of my most popular Instagram posts was just me with this guy from the Ferrari Museum, like shoulder to shoulder, like half hug, just going like, this guy gave me a really cool tour and it was really awesome. And it got, like 2,000 likes. And the day before I was like, here's a super rare Ferrari, SF90 parked at Fiorano. And everyone's like, okay, we've seen that. So,
right.
So that's our
likes.
YouTuber face story. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like at some point you were like Burt Reynolds in Boogie Nights, like just resistant to the change. I get that because it's like the content is not changing, right? Like just like some packaging, right? And it's like if the content's not changing, then why do we have to like jump through this hoop in order to like change the reach of the content? Shouldn't the content be reaching who it's supposed to reach, right? It's a difficult thing to be in. Yeah, a difficult position.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's just, wow. Burble tune. Can you guys hear that in the background?
No, you sound great. Yeah.
Okay, good. So there's a lot of modified cars driving by. Yeah, I think, we'd like to think that everyone just gets views based on their content, and there's enough room for everybody. So I think it's just gotten busier, and big, really channels that are bigger than us often have a person in the center card. It's just the nature of the game. So we finally decided to, learn how to type after years of just going, no, cursive. That's going to be the way of the future.
We're making talkies now.
Yeah, this typewriter is just going to be a fad. Yeah.
Well, but I do think that one thing that's really been interesting following, you and Matt in particular, is that, I've read car magazines and watched car shows for as long as I can remember. And it's been interesting to watch like the editorial sort of decisions getting made sort of in real time, and you guys kind of talking about that in, publicly, because, back in the day, like there wasn't like you couldn't watch the editorial meeting of automobile magazine or whatever, right? And be like, this is the style of photography that we need to do and blah, 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 blah. But now we kind of get to see some of that. And it's, in a way, it's cool, even though I definitely sympathize with the YouTuber face thing, because there's like no way in a million years I would ever do that. But, and I would also make fun of it if I was forced to, like the same sort of thing. So from that perspective, I think it is kind of cool for people who are interested in that sort of stuff to kind of see that process unfold.
Yeah, part of I think the internet, social media, is we just have more access to people, and with that, we've developed like a dialogue with viewers or listeners or whoever it is, because I'm on Instagram and someone can ask me a question in DM and I'm like, sure, like I'll talk to people. So people just ask these questions, and sometimes we'll start talking about them on the podcast or something like, well, someone is asking us about this, and that means there's probably more people wondering that just don't want to send the DM about it. So we might as well just talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting you bring up the magazines. Like, yeah, they don't announce small changes to things. Like when Road and Track changed their style from 12 issues a year to 6, like they announced that in that, editor-in-chief's like column up front, because they want their reader like, hey, by the way, this thing's look real different, and you're going to get half as many magazines, but they're going to be way better. But small stuff, like you said, small changes in photography, they may not mention because you don't need to. You're not obligated to tell your readers about it, but also you run the risk of announcing a change and some readers going, I don't want things to be any different. It's better to just present something that's new and you think better and hope that they agree with you.
Right. Yeah, and part of this is like I've been thinking. My wife is an author, and she recently released her debut novel. So like I've been thinking about sort of like and kind of getting an insight in sort of the business side of things a lot more lately, and just how like ultimately they do end up sort of seeping into creative decisions and stuff. And that's always just been really interesting to me. Like I remember hearing, I don't remember if it was you or Matt, or it was one of you two talking a few years back about why the one takes kind of took off, and like it wasn't necessarily like the content you wanted to make, but it was the stuff that worked with the algorithm and whatever. It's that stuff has always been a little kind of fascinating to me.
Well, that was like a trend. So we had the host from Smosh Games on the podcast in like 2014, I think. Their names escape me. I wasn't there during the show, and I don't watch a lot of gaming channels, but Matt met them on the Focus rally in Europe that he went on, and they had started making a lot of unedited, like single shot content, kind of like a vlog, but instead of like, I'm going to go about my day, you're going to watch me get a burrito, and then 30 minutes later, I'm also going to drive the car that I said I was going to drive. They were more like, here's an uncut video of us experiencing this game or this thing. And at the time, the audience had gotten kind of tired of high quality produced content, because we did that from 2009 into like 2013, 14 between Drive Network on YouTube and on TST. Like, we were making what we considered TV quality content on YouTube for free to kind of audition for television. And there was just a lot more of that out there. So the audience kind of, with anything, it could be, if you listen to heavy metal every day for 6 months straight and you're over the age of like 18, you'll probably just go, I'm going to take a break today. So the audience was kind of drawn toward this uncut content where they go, I trust what this person's saying because there's no edit points. This is their unfiltered thoughts. And there's something really refreshing about that in a world where things are getting more and more like molded and edited, whether it's, news or PR stuff or television, whatever. So I think it was refreshing. So that's when Matt decided to try that. And it took off like gangbusters, because I think people were like, wow, this is really cool. I'm just learning about the car. It's, 15 to 20 minutes. And there's something about that uncut content they really, really liked. And it did very, very well for, I think, like 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. And by the way, they're also it's very hard to do. Like, it is hard to drive a car that in a manner that it looks interesting to watch someone drive a car and also talk and be interesting at the same time. It is really difficult. Matt's
really good at that. His brain and skill set. He's had that ability like since I can remember in 2009. The ability to speak off the cuff and almost in cohesive paragraphs with like a beginning, middle, and end throughout like the in-car filming or the one take is amazing. And I do it a little bit, but like I definitely have to cut out some ums and flubs sometimes, and like I do that because it's better for the viewer. But he's really good at it. Yeah.
From a production standpoint, it changes so much as well, right? Like the amount of time, effort that you're putting into like setting up cameras on the car, the audio, all that stuff, versus like what you're editing. Like you're maximizing like the time that you have to have with the car. Like, would you talk us through like how some of that like changed, your perspective on things? Yeah.
So for example, the way we were doing the videos from 2000, starting in 2009, let's just say when TST got started, and we called it like auditioning for television. So we would go out and spend about, I'd say 7 to 8 hours of actually shooting a car. That's not including the drive time, lunch, whatever. But like, because the rule was, well, every hour, maybe a little bit less of production time equals 1 minute of finished video. And so we're doing multiple camera angles, stand-ups, in-car stuff. When we were doing Tuned on the Drive Network, which was a YouTube network all about car stuff, we would interview the owner of said tuned car, and then Matt would drive it. And that usually meant like we're interviewing them at their garage, then driving to a new place. Then we're doing all the driving stuff. We would try to shoot in the summer so that the days are longer, because that way we could shoot from like 7 to 8 p.m. And at the end of it, you end up with a video that would be anywhere from like 8 to 14 minutes long, depending on a bunch of things. And Tom Morningstar was our DP and editor, and he would spend, 3 days editing it with then some revisions. And, similar process with Drive on NBC Sports, like long shoot days, crunching them down into 5-minute segments, because to get the kind of content that has energy while telling a story, I think is really hard. And people don't recognize it. If you watch Top Gear or any of those really polished shows, there's these ups and downs of energy, right? It's like music. It's like the beat builds and there's crescendo and then there's the bridge. And that's usually like Clarkson standing and explaining to you why the car is amazing in the middle, and then they go out and they do driving and drifting again. So to build all those moments takes more and more shots. And we once sat and just counted the shots in one Top Gear segment that was like 3 minutes long, and there was like 140 shots.
Right.
Wow.
So that's what we were doing. And then going down to the one takes, I mean, when Matt was doing it, he would shoot 4 cars in a morning, and it would usually be like 8 a.m. to 11. So what you can do is, you do really simple beauty shot. You just walk around the car, shoot the inside. Like, you're just going, here's what it looks like. If you want to pause on that 3/4 shot, you can. I'm not.
Right.
Simple shot of the interior, because people just go, what's the car look like? Okay, now I want to know how it feels. They really want to get right to like, what is it and how does it feel to ride along with someone as they drive it? And so that cut the shooting time down to, I think an hour or so. When I do it with fan cars now, I probably spend like 2.5 hours with one person, because we stopped doing 4 cars at once, and so we can give a little bit more attention. Like it's kind of evolved, but I'll get there. But when like the assembly line version is, you do all beauty shots of all 4 cars at once, and that takes 45 minutes. And then you might do the drive-by shots with all cars at once. So the owners drive the cars, and myself or Matt or both stand on the side of the road. Cars go back and forth like 8 times. You get the shots, and then you do the in-car, and that's just 2-camera setup uncut. So the complexity of production was, dropped down from calculus to like, addition. And the editing process, I mean, you could do it in like an hour if you were really, really going for it.
Right.
It's made everything easier. And that's how Matt at the time, he was shooting and editing the videos himself. Tom moved back to New York, and then I eventually took over editing the one takes as like a side job. And now I edit all the one takes we do for the channel, and we've made it a little bit more complicated now, just to add in a little bit more of that polish and some nicer shots and stuff, but without going all the way back to 10-hour shoot, because it's like right now the CPM, which is the amount of money you get paid per view, has gone down considerably since 2010. So if you used to get 1 million views and you'd make, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars, now you're making like, I don't know, maybe a few $1,000s. And so the more complex the production, the more time it takes, the more money it costs ultimately in terms of labor or actual human beings if you want more people on the ground. So we're kind of doing, I think, a little bit more than we were before, but still with just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like it's so great when like that kind of like the voice kind of like being modified or tweaked, like the direction of the show, like kind of lining up with something that is better for production and better for people's times, like and like quantity of output. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what YouTube has been great for is provided people more a blank canvas to make content however they want to, and then the audience can decide what they like. Because television, for years was like, I mean, decades really, is like, it's a 22-minute show if it's a 30-minute show, because you need ad space and you need bumpers at the front and the back, and here's how something is traditionally done, so that's how we're going to do it. Because so much of television is so expensive that people are cautious about changing things, drastically. And I know obviously there's exceptions. There's new shows that make a new paradigm and break the mold, but they're usually made by people who are like brilliant writers with a long track record, and they're going to make Breaking Bad, and they're like, this is a new idea, but here are the other things I've done. But when we were doing car television, it's like, well, look, this NBC Sports is taking a chance on us. We do have proof of concept on YouTube, but they are like, we want it to fit in these blocks because this is how our network works. But on YouTube, you can go, hey, I'm going to, hold a camera as a selfie the whole time, and I'm going to walk around the Andes Mountains and talk to you about the Andes Mountains. And it's going to be one shot, and it's not going to be filmed like Planet Earth 2, but we'll see if anybody cares. And like that video can blow up. So that's what YouTube's really good for, is there's like, you can literally paint however you want and whatever you want, and maybe you'll succeed, maybe you won't. Maybe your definition of success is just doing it. And it's, I think, really changed what people expect in terms of content style.
Yeah, what I do think though that there is another piece of that is important, which is that you know, you doing a one take and you hosting a segment on Drive on NBC, they're essentially two different mediums, right? But I think you and Matt and a few others that we've seen in like wildly different mediums, you can still hear your voice, and so I wonder, like, has there been any of these iterations where you feel like you've struggled to maintain either your voice or Matt's voice or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, I remember the first time I read something that Matt wrote in Track, I was like, oh, I hear that in his voice. Like, it's impressive. You can tell someone's a good writer when their voice carries through multiple mediums, and I think both of you have that. So I wonder, has there been a point where you were like, this change we had to do for business reasons doesn't work for us creatively as much? Or is that something you haven't even thought of?
No. It like, so on the NBC Sports side, like, I really like writing jokes and lines and trying to condense my thoughts, because I can tend to be a little verbose naturally, and it's so hard to think of a clever analogy or something like in the moment. Sometimes it happens. Like, sometimes alchemy happens. You're driving a car fast and you just think of something that's really funny or really accurate, but I can't rely on that all the time. So I like to write stuff out beforehand, just to give myself some ideas and some ways to explain things. And so I really enjoy that process. And so something that would happen when we were in the editing process with that is some editors would chop out jokes for time just because they were like, well, we need to lose a minute and a half, so they took this minute and a half. And so I'd watch the edit and I go, I think it's really important to have that in, partly because it might explain this in a more concise way than what we have in there now, but also I think it's important to leave some of my personality in there, because it's easy to cut it down to just like specs and stuff, or like the timing of things, and we cut the payoff out, or we don't have the setup for this or stuff like that. So I think the challenge with NBC sports shows and Haggerty also was if you think of a car and all the things you want to tell people, let's say that it would take 20 minutes to explain everything about this car. Now you got to do it in 5. So that's a really hard challenge, is how do you make this informative and entertaining and 25% as long as you might think it naturally needs to be. And I think Chris Harris is one of the best people at this, because whether, Top Gear or collecting cars, like, he can explain the seats to someone in like 5 words, whereas myself and other people might spend 2 or 3 actual sentences on the seats. And yes, we're probably giving you more information, but what he's doing is he's like, you don't need all of this right now. Like, he'll spend more time on how the car drives and less on why the seats are comfortable. He's just like, they're comfortable. You want to try them? Go sit in the car yourself. But, for someone his size, whatever, he's like, these are comfortable seats to me. I think he's really good at that. So that was the challenge for me, is trying to be concise and while maintaining like accuracy and personality.
Yeah, no, that's a tough. it's a lot of things to try to hit at once. I mean, that's the Mark Twain quote, right? I would have written you a shorter letter, but I ran out of time. That's
great.
So, I think that's all I had on the like the production and sort of process stuff. Dave, did you have anything else?
No, I love it. I love the insights. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay. All right. So now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about sort of your online presence and some of the jokes that you've had on the Twitter. You're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Basically, depending on the year, sure.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You tweeted this in 2009. No. You had a thread going maybe a week or two ago on a group of X-Car is called a blank, and that's just such a fun game. Like, we've done that a little bit on the show. Like, every once in a while, we've said that sort of stuff. I think the one that we had that our listeners identify most with was a group of slingshots is a khaki. Each one is a pleat. A group of Suzuki cappuccinos is a froth. What was the one that kind of kicked that off for you?
Let's see. It was whatever the first one was. If you go down,
the Dacias.
Yes, the Delica.
Delica.
The group of Delicas is a delicacy.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. I don't know. Like, what time did I tweet that? Like, I don't know why that came up or how.
Right?
Like,
1:07 p.m. Like, caffeine was probably wearing off maybe for the day.
I was probably tired, and I was just like, I think that's right. I think I had not slept well the night before. Because like, if not sleeping correctly, you can feel a little bit drunk, but sometimes I've heard SNL writers talk about this. Like, if you nail it, your lack of sleep removes the filters, and then you just like can land on something funny. But a lot of times your brain doesn't work and your reactions suck. A group of delicacies is called Delicacy, and it made me laugh. And then I saw it just like start getting likes and whatever, and I was like, this is a fun game. Because something I used to love, there was a show on Comedy Central like 5 years ago, I think, called At Midnight, and it was hosted by Chris Hardwick, who he's whatever. But it was, I really liked that show because it was just like, here's a topic, write one-liners around this, like kind of weird. There was a formula to it. And what was fun is they would put it out on Twitter and just basically, it was a great way to get audience engagement. But it was like, hey, audience who also likes this or wants to write comedy, here's the premise, hit hashtag da-da-da, and maybe you'll get mentioned on TV, or maybe you'll get, quote, chosen to be on a team. And so I used to play that game because it was on like 4 days a week, so I'd play it every single night, and I just thought it was really fun. It was like a fun brain exercise to just write these weird silly things. So when this
that used to be the purpose of Twitter,
right? It did. Yeah, it used to be. It really was. A lot of people got like comedy writing careers through their tweets, or whether it was their name or tweet of God or something like that, where they were kind of had created a persona. Yeah, man. So this kind of like caught fire, and it just seemed like a really fun thing, and people started getting really into it. And so I just started like thinking like, all right, what else? And I just sat there for a little while. I was like, what else? I
love it. I love it.
No, these are great. I think the one that I tweeted at you was a group of infinities is called a showing.
It's like a real, it's a realtor conference.
Yeah, but that's 100%. Only. This is another theory we have on the show is the gap between the first owner infinity and the second owner infinity is the largest gulf of any automaker, right? That basically, in
terms of their income or
just who they are. Like, you can tell this person bought this infinity new, and then you can tell from the sparks and the vape smoke that this person bought their infinity secondhand. And like, it's realtors buy it, and then Stan's kids, and then there's nobody in between.
Yeah, that's true. Infinity has a weird identity problem. Like, I want to like some of their cars, and we just drove, I can't remember the name because they changed it all to alphanumeric characters. Q60 Red Sport, we drove that, which sadly is exactly the same as the one I drove 5 years ago. They just added a touchscreen to it, and they're asking money on par with BMW's M240 xDrive, which looks like it's from 2022 or maybe even 2027, and is like faster and better like. And Infinity's like, no, we're just as good as that. We are. We are just as good. It is like Arby's going, we are pricing ourselves with Ruth's Chris right now. I mean, and I think they just used to be better than they were, but Nissan, like, their sales have been down. They're having financial issues, all those different things. So it's
their CEO smuggled himself out of the country in a piano case.
That was quite a thing. I mean, he had to flee. They've had some rough times. They've had some tough stuff going on at the house, I would say.
Yeah, I think that qualifies as a distraction.
That's definitely a distraction. But you are right, because you see used Infinities around. I mean, they do offer good performance and pretty reliable at that. And so when they hit the used market, you're like, look, you can get 400 horsepower for I don't know, $10,000 to $25,000 depending on what you're looking at, and the aftermarket support for like the G35 and G37. You could bolt on a lot of parts that would go with a 350Z. Like, if you want to get a drift missile or a track missile and you don't want to spend, quote, 350Z money because they got more popular, like, you can get a G35 or G37.
Dave, what do you say we play a game?
Okay.
Let's do a game. So we play a game on the show. We play a couple games. This one is based around vanity plates. So basically what happens is you're going to get a picture of 3 cars with the license plates blacked out, and then you're going to get the text of the vanity plates, and you have to match Highlights magazine style the text of the vanity plate to the car.
Got it.
And then we can zoom in and get context clues, looking at stickers and other things, and modifications are always good things, and just gross generalization about people is what really makes you successful at this game.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
What a good game.
I have one to kind of cut our teeth on, and then I think Ian's is better. So we'll go ahead and do mine even though I haven't seen it. I think his is just going to be funnier. So here we go. Mine is called Effing Nerds. All right, and
I haven't seen these either, so we're going to be doing this as a team, Zach.
So if you want to take this in, I'll narrate what you're seeing. Yeah. So we have what was that, a C7 Corvette in like a purple, dark purple, right?
Yeah.
We've got the bog standard Toyota Tundra, right? And then we have an Audi, I think that's an A6, right? A gray A6, right? Yeah. Anything jump out?
I mean, let's read the text of the plates.
Oh yeah.
The plates. The first one is AV Tech. The next one is Buy ETH, which that poor bastard. And then ICU2 TV.
That one's weird.
It is weird. ICU2 TV.
ICU2 television.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I have, shooting from the hip gut reactions on these for sure.
Okay.
So,
is there anything you want to zoom in on or anything? It doesn't look like there's a lot of like mods or anything to look at here.
We got chrome wheels, and we've got
American Eagle license plate surround, missing the 2 bottom bolts, no less. Okay.
Good catch.
And I believe that's to support the troops Colorado specialty plate.
Yes, it is.
So that might be help. That's on the Corvette.
Is the side mirror in view of on the Corvette photo, or is that too far
Unfortunately, it's not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife snagged this while we were on the way to autocross. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's go down and look at this Tundra. That looks like the dealership tag, that M on the left.
All right. Yeah.
Tundra 4x4.
Got a Broncos surround.
Yep. Trailer hitch, rusty exhaust. Nothing crazy. Stock wheels. Really conservative wheels. Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, let's look at this Audi. And so gray A6.
Nothing weird about it, right?
No, nothing. I mean, none of these. I mean, the Corvette, of course, has the only modification, which is the license plate surround. But I mean, all right. So my gut reactions are, we'll just go with this. So I think the Corvette is by F or ETH, because if someone made enough money on Ethereum that they want to tell people about it, they're not going to buy a Tundra or an A6. Those cars are too simple. Like, this person wishes they had Lambo money. They don't. The only thing that's throwing me off is that is a 3-dimensional bald eagle above the license plate, which screams old person. But it's not a
Corvette.
Which, right, of course it is. Which actually, they probably bought it. This is probably a young person who bought this car from an older person. There's no like USMC or Army veteran sticker on it, which I would expect if it was an older person that also had a support the troops with the American flag. So that also makes me think it's a younger person that bought this. So I'm going with the buy F is on the Corvette. I don't care if it's right or wrong because I like my reasoning. I think the AV Tech is the Audi because they're advertising that they do audio visual stuff. the Audi has a lot of tech inside with the virtual cockpit and all that. Like, it's a pretty technologically advanced company next to Mercedes. And the person I know who runs an AV company bought a lot of Audis. Like, it seems to draw the tech people. Yeah. But it's responsible, because if you own an AV tech company or you're an AV tech, like, you're a fairly responsible person. The ICU2 TV, while I don't understand what the hell they're talking about, I think they are a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. They're like, I see what you're up to. Someone, television, maybe our televisions are too smart and they're watching us. And if you ask this person at the gas station, like, what's that about? They'd be like, well, with all the new smart TVs, they have, eye monitoring in the in that frame, right? And so that kind of person has a truck. They have a truck that they have to drive out to their prep burrow or bunker somewhere.
A buried school bus. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's not zero discarded Coors Light cans in that truck somewhere. I'm not saying they're drinking right now, but I'm saying they've had a drink in the truck while stationary, maybe. Yeah. And they're just like, I'll get that later, and it's not a priority for them. But the truck's pretty clean. Like, this is not a ramshackle, beat up truck, but it's just a truck. So that's what I'm going with. Okay, Ian.
So I have a slightly different take on the ETH. I think we're all focused on the buy ETH tragic license plate, right? I have a slightly different take on this, which I think that they put that plate on whatever car they were driving when all this crypto stuff happened, because I think telling people about crypto is definitely more important to those people than actually spending the money that you made on anything interesting, right? Like, spending your money to advertise yourself and your interest in crypto is more important. So the license plate would precede whatever car purchase they made.
Okay.
So I think that the buy ETH, I'm going to agree with you on the AV tech for the Audi. I think the buy ETH is on the Tundra, and I think ICU2 TV is just like incoherent enough for it to be like a Corvette boomer who enjoys watching television. I think that's what I'm going with.
Okay. All right. Answers locked in. Here we go. Everybody. Zach, I got bad news for you, buddy. Wow. Wrong on all counts.
Wrong on all of them.
I'm sorry. Our buddy Jared sent in the buy ETH. Yeah, our listeners send us maniacs with vanity plates. So yeah. Yeah, I saw the AV Tech and the ICU2 TV myself. You're spot on about the boomer vet. Yeah, it makes sense to them, and I'm sure it's a long explanation, which I think you were right about, Zach. I think you were right about that part. Like, you're going to get an earful if you ask.
They handed the slip of paper across the counter at the DMV and just did that thing where, they're waiting for them to ask, what does that mean? Just so they can launch into the 20-minute monologue that they have.
Right. They were primed. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. They've got $1 cup of coffee in their hand. They're just waiting.
Yeah. Have you ever had a vanity plate? Do you have any vanity plate inklings?
I have vanity plate inklings. I've never had one. The car I had in high school came with one, and the guy was like, I'm taking the plate with me. And I was like, oh, okay.
What was the car and what was the plate?
So the car was a 65 Pontiac, like GTO clone, and the plate was Hip Betty, because the car's name was Betty. And honestly, like, I've never named a car, and I don't plan on doing it in the future. So when I look back at that, I'm like, hey, whatever. I don't know what the plate said after that, but I didn't really care.
Sure.
That could have been your whole identity if you had kept that plate.
That's a great point. Who
Sliding
knows where
doors.
I'd be if I kept that plate?
Yeah.
I should use a time machine and go back, and it's like the butterfly effect. And like, who knows? I could have been president. I could have been someone.
I think we're seeing it right here in this Corvette. That's exactly, that would have been you driving that Corvette.
Yeah, I would have said, like, Betty knows, and be like, what does Betty know? Be like, whoa.
How much time do you have?
Have you heard of Pizzagate? This is way better. This is Calzone Gate.
Yeah.
The only like I want to do something for my M3, but I can't think of anything to do. Like if I have a vanity plate, it's got to be a joke, but it needs to be concise because it's got to be 7 characters.
Right.
So the only thing I thought of was
Twitter.
like, yes, exactly. Yeah, this is like Vine, but written out. So I don't know, like M3 with an H and then something like meh 3, because it's like it's an M3 and people are like, is it fast? Like, yeah, kind of. But
Okay.
I haven't formulated it yet. So
Okay.
right now my plate is just whatever.
I have an LS460 as my daily. At some point, I want to do Werther's as the vanity plate because it's my old man sedan.
Like the candy.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But there is a good vanity plate that we had forever ago. But I think it predated the game, Ian. It was, remember, I saw like a 4 Series M edition or like 4 Series M something. Yeah. And the license plate was M4-ish.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was it was like an M Sport. It was like an M Sport 4 Series.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a full on M4.
Yeah.
I just thought of one I could try to make it say broken soon because it's an M3 and my car breaks like every 3 months. Like BRKN, and then you got to figure out the S. Yeah, the SON.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we have another iteration of this game, and it's one that I put together. And this is, I've named this one Braggadocio because these are all kind of like braggy plates that I saw around Denver.
All right. Here we go. Braggadocio. All right. Up top, we've got a maroon Kia Sportage? Sorento. We've got we've got a dark gray black Jeep, and we've got a gray CRV.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, go ahead. Yeah. What, you want to read the plates? Read the plates, Zach.
Yeah. So plate 1 is his girl, but the eyes are with ones, the number 1. The second one is royalty. And the third one is Street 1.
Not Street 2.
That is weird. What's so fun, like I was started laughing because royalty is in here and like, I don't want to be classist. Like none of these cars are really expensive Rolls Royce anything. Like Jeep Grand Cherokee is probably the most expensive car here, depending on the options on the CRV. And like, look, I can't buy a new Grand Cherokee either. Like they're nice, but royalty is like, you know what? Someone thinks they have won in their circle of life, and I actually applaud them for that. I don't want to shit on that. It's just like I was expecting to look over and see like Mercedes, Rolls Royce, whatever. Right. But you know what?
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah. This is okay.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's royalty with like no spelling compromises or anything like that. They just straight up got the plate. Right.
Yes. Which tells you how few other people were interested in having royalty as a license. Like someone else wanted his girl. Right. So they had to go with numbers. But royalty, they were like, oh, that's available. You want that? for what car? And then like, but the customer was very demanding, I imagine, because they see themselves as royalty. Oh God.
Yeah.
Now here's my question. So I saw his girl and I took that picture. Do you think that the plate refers to, is the girl the car? Is the girl the driver and his is a spouse or a partner? Or is his baby Jesus?
That's weird. If you didn't say it, that's what I was gonna say.
Right?
Ooh.
There's lots of different ways you could go with that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's do some zoom.
We need to zoom in because I see stickers and things on all of these vehicles. So like there's a sticker on the top left there, but I don't know if we.
I think that's just the view through like the rear glass.
Okay. Is that a camouflage license plate survey?
It is a cow print license plate.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
I will tell you that.
Okay.
This is Eastern Colorado, isn't it?
It could. I mean, yeah.
These were all taken in and around Denver.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Cow print. Okay. Right. What do we have on the Jeep?
We've got the Hemi Bragg sticker. We've got the Some stickers that I can't see. Let me
see. I have the original, so let me see if I can zoom in on.
See if we can enhance.
Siri, zoom.
That's
enhance.
we do that. enhance.
Yeah, we've got. There's a number.
The one on the left is like the mustache with the legs. I never know what that is, but some internet culture thing or something.
Is that a QAnon sticker above the back windshield wiper?
I don't think so.
Is it a Q?
I don't think so. Let me look on maybe I could see it on my phone better.
Well, then the plate would be called like the truth.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I searched mustache leg sticker. I got 0 results. So we'll just. Oh wait, I found it. Life is better with a mustache. Okay.
Huh. Okay.
I just scroll down.
Boy, they're really going hard for Mike Ward Jeep here. Boy. Okay. All right. CRV. Got the fancy scenic Colorado plate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they might.
And a Black Lives Matter sticker. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting. Ian, you've given us a conundrum.
Yeah.
I may have something to go on, Zach, unless you want to.
I'll let you go ahead. I have one idea, but yeah, go ahead.
So the working theory that I have is about the Jeep Grand Cherokee and the royalty vanity plate. So I think like one thing I've learned over time is that one of the like go-to cars of the wealthy is actually either a Ford Explorer or a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Like rich people that are doing very, very well, often have one of these cars just because it is a car you never have to think about. It's nice enough. They have other cars, but oftentimes you'll see very well-to-do people, well-off folks with a Jeep Grand Cherokee or a Ford Explorer. I don't know exactly why, but I've seen it.
Yeah, it's pronounced Grand Cherokee.
Yeah.
Right?
But doesn't that defeat the purpose if you then put a royalty license plate on it?
Well, vanity and utility are not mutually exclusive, right?
Okay.
But the thing that like I don't get is the stickers, because that's not like a rich person Jeep Grand Cherokee move from what I've seen in the past, right? Okay. So I don't know. That's really like the pattern recognition stuff that I have firing at this point.
So I think the process of elimination. So I think if someone was wealthy, they wouldn't say royalty. Like they wouldn't go, I got a royalty plate. They would just buy something more expensive, or they're just like, if they're truly wealthy, they're like, let the thing speak for itself.
Right.
So my guess is that, does that CRV actually have a handicapped plate? It is parked in a handicapped spot. Does it have a handicapped plate or placard?
You know, I was wondering the same thing after I don't think you can see in here. I think it did have a placard. I took this picture a while ago, but I think it did have a placard.
Okay, because if it didn't, I'd be like, now this really helps my answer. But I'm going to go. Okay, so I think that the royalty plate goes with the CRV, because the CRV, it's a pretty new CRV.
Okay.
And that is a car. It's a pretty practical car. It's pretty clean. There's not a bunch of stickers on it. There's one sticker, but there's not a lot of other stuff on it. And it's kind of says like family vehicle to me. I mean, these all do a little bit, but I'll get to those. But this says like family vehicle to me. And if you came up from like a low income situation, a CRV is a great car, like because it's a great car objectively anyway, but they're not cheap. I mean, you get options in them, like they're 30s up to 40s. So it's like someone worked hard. They drove a cheap shit box for a long time. Maybe they took the bus, whatever, and now they got this car, and they also have an opinion about themselves, that they are royalty. So I think that's what I think goes with that. I think the Jeep is his girl. Okay. I'm not sure if this is a young woman that was given this car by her parents, because it could be like a hand-me-down Grand Cherokee from a family with, some means. And it'd be like dad's girl, but that would be really weird in a lot of ways. So I think it's more likely that this is a spouse of someone. And because I've seen this before, I've seen cars around that are like, Mike's princess or his love or whatever. Yeah. And it's like maybe they bought the car together, or he bought her the Jeep and she wanted to get this, or he wanted to get, I don't know, whatever it is. We don't have to get into the family dynamic there, but that's what I think goes with that. And there's
as much as they're trying to drag you into it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stickers on the car. So I feel like this is a more extroverted vehicle in general. And his girl is saying, so you're saying like, stay away from my woman, or stay away from me, or I have a man, or whatever. Like there's just a lot being said there. And then Street One makes no sense and conveys nothing to me. So that's why I'm just giving it to the Kia, because the Kia also conveys nothing to me. And I have no idea why someone would put that on. I don't know why you put that on any of these cars. Like we would need to talk to the owner, but that's my guess.
Yeah. These are all lunatics.
We have talked about on the show in the past how I want to start an organization that it intervenes people at the DMV on their way to get a vanity plate and redirects like the money that they would spend on a vanity plate to a charity of their choosing that would be more appropriate, right? Like just like, let's say like Street One was on the Kia, right? Like what are you trying to say? Like you can, like with the extra $55 that it takes in Colorado, you can put your money somewhere else and be like, I donated to, something, right, that lines up with what they're trying to say, right?
I think I agree with you on Street One. The other two are so entertaining. I want to see them out in the wild. Yeah. And so I don't want to stop them from being themselves because they provide us and people on the highway entertainment. But Street One is so vague. You're like, look, you're probably, or you could have punch-up writers in the DMV where they're like Street One, like, really? That's what you want? Like, what do you want to tell the world? Like, let's workshop this a bit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then they're going to be like, oh, that's good, right?
A DMV writer's room is a solid sketch idea.
I can't think of a lower paid profession in the United States, by the way. They'd be like, you want us to pay for what? Like, yeah, we'll give them one sandwich every 2 days. Like, it's so unnecessary.
Right. Some poor intern just, right? Yeah. I don't know. My gut tells me that royalty is actually on the Kia because I think it might be some kind of farming cow, bloodline thing. Maybe that's where my head's at.
Just the cow queen of Colorado.
Rolling in a Kia Sorento. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think there could be a theory there where like the most highfalutin plate is on the cheapest car. Like whoever, if someone has royalty on the Kia, they think they are the shit and they are obnoxious about it. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're exactly right. Right? Yeah, like that vanity plate to car disparity, right? Like the braggadociousness and then the car that it's on, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think that his girl is on the CRV. And I think Street One is on the Jeep because I've had enough Jeeps, SRTs, and Durango SRTs. I had one today mess with me when I'm just tootling around in my little Fiat 500 Abarth trying to race me because somehow they think I want to race just because I have a diverter valve. And I don't. I never want to race with them. Their cars have 4 times the horsepower of mine, and I don't like racing. So there you go. But I think Street One's on the Jeep, and that would make his girl on the CRV. Yeah. I don't know.
You guys together, I think, have the right answer.
Okay. Let me... Ian hid the answer for me in a folder. It's called Dave Don't Look. Here's Braggadocio Solution. His girl is on the Kia.
It's on the Kia. Street One is the Jeep. And royalty is the CRV. So
you
Zach,
nailed right. the CRV, Zach.
Yeah. I got that one, but man, the other two. So his girl is on the Kia, and Street One is. I got so many questions for Street One.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions for his girl with the cow print. That changes things. I don't know.
You know what?
I think
now it
Zach's,
actually kind of suits it.
yeah, I think Zach's inclination about it being about Jesus, I think that fits. That all.
yeah.
No, I think it's like a wholesome farm community romance thing, and this girl's just like, he's my sweetheart. We've been together since high school, and I'm his girl. And I think it's like,
Right.
yeah, that makes the most sense.
It's very
Street One,
sweet.
it's got to be
Okay.
like a CrossFit gym or something like that. Like the guy's got a mustache, and it's like Street One, performance, or Street One CrossFit, and it's just like, okay.
I thought he was saying like calling himself Street, like I am of the streets. I thought that's what that was referring to, but I think I was the only one who took that.
Maybe he misspelled SRT, and I don't know. I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah, it's SRT and Skeet. It's like married together.
Yeah.
And then the royalty, I mean, I think Zach, you were right on about that one.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what was going on there.
Yeah.
But I also think it's possible that they've had that plate for a very long time because, again, no modifications or missing letters like that. You never see that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one wackadoo in every place, right? So most of the states, like, yeah, we're people, and this person's like, I'm royalty. I'm like, okay.
And this is going on a what now? Okay.
Yeah.
What was the car that royalty had before this? Like, what was the car that plate came off of? Or like Zach, your theory, like that they made it with the CRV purchase, right? You know, that came to form.
I mean, probably, yeah. I think that. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because I don't think you go from like I don't think you go from like a used Accord to that. Yeah.
I could see someone making that jump because they want to stay in the Honda family because the
Sure.
Honda was like reliable to them. But I don't know if you would vanity plate a used Accord. I don't know. Now I'm going to be on the lookout. Anytime I see something that's like, I don't know, just cheap sedan, I'm going to be like, do they have a vanity plate? Is it like Princess or is it, Duke of something? Like,
So that's what we do. That's what we like to do. We like to dig into the psyche end of this because there's people tell you a lot about themselves with their cars, and usually it's
absolutely.
It's usually pretty scary.
and also like it exposes a lot about us, right? The observer effect, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the assumptions people make about the vanity plate is just as revealing as the vanity plate itself, right?
Totally. It's like a weird Rorschach test, It's like,
Right?
what kind of judgment do you bestow upon these car owners based on almost nothing, you asshole?
Right.
Yeah.
No, and here
Totally.
we are like twisting like what could very well be a super wholesome thing, like you said, with the Kia, right? Like it could just be the most simple, wholesome thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here I am like making some weird thing out of it in my head. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why this game is the best. Okay.
This is a good game.
Thank you. Well, Zach, if you see a maniac with a vanity plate, you can text it, take a picture, text it to 720-515-1391, and we'll put it on the show. Yeah.
I will. I take plates. There's plenty of them in Los Angeles. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Zach, if people enjoyed listening to you talk with us, where should they find you?
You can hear me talk more nonsense on the Smoking Tire podcast. We put it out twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you want to hear it earlier than that, we have a Patreon that gives you early access to the shows and gives you some bonus shows and stuff. And if you want to read some nonsense, follow me on Twitter at Zack Klapman. And then my Instagram is the real Zack Klapman. Someone in Canada is also a Zack Klapman, which is strange.
Son of a bitch.
And by inference, the fake Zack Klapman.
I think I actually had that for a long time, and then I realized that it's really unprofessional, and people might go, well, I don't want to follow the fraudulent account. Like, I guess that's just the end of the road. And I'm like, this is stupid. But I kind of like when we were talking about resisting the call to do center cards, everyone was putting the real something because someone else had stolen their identity. And I was like, you know what? I'm too good for that. I'm going to do the fake thing because I'm going to resist, success.
Yeah.
Like an idiot.
Yeah. No, I get that impulse. That's great.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody should go listen to Smoking Tire. I mean, everyone who listens to this is probably already listening to you guys, but that's okay. We'll advertise it here anyway. And Dave, You already gave our phone number. Anything else? The socials,
yeah,
places, and the
at
thing with the
Apex
guy?
Adjacent on everything. We nobody else took Apex Adjacent, so we didn't. I guess we can do the real Apex Adjacent also and the fake one.
Yeah.
No, if you have the regular one, keep it short. I say. I like the name. I think it's good.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Zach. This was a ton of fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thank you guys for having me. Really.
Yeah, anytime. Invite yourself back whenever. Everybody else, we love you. Goodbye.